The game's inspired concept of time travel comes by two creators, Toriyama of Dragon Ball and Dragon Warrior fame, and famous game writer Masato Kata. Unlike game trade shows today, Chrono Trigger was teased to the public at a 94 and 1995 V-Jump festival in Japan. Chrono Trigger's scenario writer had asked his friend to compose the music, even though Square wanted the veteran Final Fantasy composer to do so. Yasurina Mitsuda was a sound engineer and talented jazz musician. He threatened to quit Square if they didn't let him compose the music. Once Mitsuda got the gig, he was known to lock himself in his studio while composing the game's music for weeks on end. During this time, he developed a serious stomach ulcer near the end of production and had to be hospitalized. Square had to bring in Uematsu to finish the musical score, but Uematsu only did 10 songs. The artwork you're seeing is from none other than Toriyama himself, the same man behind the Dragon Ball, Dragon Warrior, Dragon Ball Z, and Blue Dragon. The game was also rumored to have an 8th character, but it never made it past the drawing boards. Chrono Trigger released on the Super Famicom March 11, 1995, and used a 32-bit cartridge, so you could save multiple games. The Japanese version had some other features too, but nothing really worth mentioning. Oddly enough, the localization of the game for the US, they only had 30 days to translate the game for its summer release on the Super Nintendo. Chrono Trigger was one of the last big hits on the Super Nintendo and hit store shelves on August 22, 1995. Chrono Trigger used a different turn-based battle system called Active Time Battle. This made use of the speed meter to the right of the character's name. You could set up the enemy to wait for you, or you could set them up to be active. Chrono Trigger made use of a tech system where you combined both magic and special attacks into one menu. They also had something called Dual Tech. Now, Dual Tech is where you combine two characters' specials into one. Also, some characters could combine to do a third-person attack for ultimate damage. Example, Arc Impulse, as you're seeing, which combines Chrono, Marl, and Frog in an ultimate water attack, and it's one of my favorite triple attacks. Many people have 5 main complaints with this game that I've heard for the past 13 years now. The first is the dialogue is not translated very well. They didn't have stamps yet, maybe it should be Rock Collection or something. Nintendo America has once again removed all references to Christianity such as crosses, artwork, etc. because they didn't want to offend anybody. Too late! Next, all references to beer was changed to soda pop, when we all know it's I love drinking sake, not that a sugar rush is a bad thing. However, a grown man saying I love soda pop is pretty darn funny. What is the 4th complaint that people have? Why, it's none other than Flea, or Fell-ah, or whatever you want to call it. What many people find so funny is, of course they're going to censor out the naked statues. Of course they're going to censor out beer, and yeah, they're going to do the Christianity thing. But they are not going to edit out this character at all and just leave him in as is. If you're going to edit things out, then you have to edit out everything that offends people, not just the things that offends you. Anyway, Marl asks Frog, who is this person? Frog says, keep up thine guard, this is no ordinary woman. Meet Flea, the magician. But then Flea gets very angry and says, hey, I'm a guy! Then Marl, shocked and disgusted, blurts out, that's a guy? To which Flea says, male, female, what's the difference? Power is beautiful, and I've got both. But since you've brought your new friends over to play, I'll show you all a good time. Awkward! Now, the scene was funny, but the argument behind it is it should never have been in the game if it was, quote, censored correctly. So the censorship people, you fail again. Lucky for us, that's not the only really significant part about this game. The concept of killing the main character wasn't unheard of in an RPG. However, one sacrificing of himself for someone he just met is very new. The fact that Square killed Chrono is the last and biggest controversy and claim to fame for this game. The little boy warned the group that one among them would shortly perish. Chrono is killed by Lavos, but it doesn't end there. No. Square allows you to bring Chrono back to life as part of a long side quest. As far back as I can recall, this was the first time in an RPG where you could bring a main character back to life and it had significance to the story, by going back in time moments before his death and replacing him with a clone or a doll of himself. I know you guys are thinking, wow, major spoiler, I hate you. Well, the thing is, this game is 13 years old, and there's been information about Chrono dying for a very, very long time. And Actually, the game was supposed to originally end in the drawing stages. They were going to kill the main character and, have everything be reset that way. But then they got together and decided to, there's so much more we can do with these characters. There's all these side quests we can make. There's these subplots. There's these different, consequences for all this. It just made this game so awesome. Chrono Trigger is essentially about redemption, meaning that you're trying to fix things. You're trying to make amends. You're trying to protect the future. You're trying to stop bad things from happening. It has a lot of heart, and it's a very overwhelming story if you really think about it. Now, Chrono Trigger's first sequel was only in Japan, and it was called Radical Dreamers, which was a text-based game that starred mages. However, this game was eventually removed from the official canon. In 1999, Chrono Cross released as the direct sequel to the game, taking place in an alternate universe of the original altogether. The game didn't use time travel, but more parallel dimensions. This game has been met with mixed feelings among Chrono Trigger fans, but it's not that bad a game, just different. Chrono Trigger was so popular that a fan project first known as Chrono Trigger 64 was going to remake the entire game. Later it had to become revamped and called Chrono Trigger Resurrection, and this was originally set for a Christmas 2004 release, but Square-enix issued a cease and desist letter to the Resurrection team before the release of the game because of trademark and copyright infringement. So faced with the threat of legal action, the project was sadly closed on September 6, 2004. 4 years after the incident, Square announced that Chrono Trigger at first was being remade, and fans' hearts leapt for joy. But in the summer of 2008, this proved to be a report of the Super Nintendo game to the Nintendo DS, with 2 new dungeons and 2 endings. Now, don't get me wrong, a portable Chrono Trigger, I'm all over that. But when they say a remake, I was hoping more along the lines of an actual remake than a port. Maybe Chrono Trigger 2 could be for the DS. While I can't go over everything in this game because it's so massive, I will tell you guys that in order to level up your party, the best way to do it is in Black Omen, and you do that, you get 3,000 experience most of the time. But I can't really tell everything, so I'm just going to do the basics, like how to get mages to join, bring back Chrono, and defeat Lavos. If you guys need any help, then head over to the K-Wing forum site. Now, to get mages to join your party, first you have to say you don't want to fight him. Frog will basically say that fighting mages now is pointless and it won't bring the dead back to life. After that, just walk away. Now, mages will be confused and follow after you, and then ask if he can join you, to which Frog won't be very pleased. Mages will then tell your party how to bring Chrono back. Well, kind of. He says there's a possibility. Mages has some of the most powerful magic in the game, and has some of the best combined triple attack as well. On to bringing Chrono back. This is one of the things that made this game so famous. Before Chrono dies, you need to get a clone of him back at the fair. Now you can do this anytime before his death. After Chrono sacrifices himself for his friends, mages will tell you to talk to the Guru of Time. The old man gives you the Chrono Trigger, a time egg, and tells you to go see Balthazar. When you go see Balthazar in the future, he will tell you need a clone also, and the person has to be important to the time-space continuum. So, basically go back to Chrono's house and get the doll from his mother in 1000 AD, then go talk to Balthazar again, and he'll give you more help in the form of toys that turn into trees so you can walk up Death Peak with the wind blowing and stuff. This will help you climb the Death Peak as well. Once making your way to the top of the peak, the egg will shatter into tiny pieces. Marl will drop to her knees and start crying hysterically, and then yell out Chrono's name. And of course, Frog or whoever else will go to condole her and talk to her and calm her down. After a second or two, an eclipse will begin, and this rewinds time to seconds before Chrono dies. Your party will see him alive and well, so what you want to do is walk over to him and replace him with the doll. This will restore the hero to the land of the living, to which Marl will say Chrono's alive, and Matrix will say your hellos for later. Marl will then embrace the man she loves, and Chrono will just look around dazed and confused as always. As you can see, I took out the left bit first, because you want to do that, that way Lavos can't do his triple attack. Next I'm going to focus on the thing on the right and attack it, but right now it has its guard up. I want you guys to ignore the middleman. You can kill him if you want to, but then the fight's going to be a lot longer than it should be because you have to kill the thing on the right in order to kill Lavos completely, because the right thing is Lavos, it tricks you. Once it lowers its guard, you can see I actually attacked it and it did nothing. You can attack him with Ice Sword 2, Arc Impulse, Fire Sword, Chrono's Confuse, or Robo's Uzi Punch. After 6 good strikes, you'll eventually beat the thing. As you can see, I've been playing for a while, so that's why I was able to beat Lavos. Well, I hope this tip has been very helpful, especially to you new players playing Chrono Trigger for the very first time. When you get to Lavos, it won't be that difficult. There are always bad things about games. Now, me personally, I didn't like how at the end of the happy-go-lucky ending for the PlayStation, that they decide to kill off my favorite characters in the present in order to tie in Chrono Cross. This stunt really turned me off to the supposed sequel. Now, the Chrono Trigger fan base was also out for blood after this incident as well.